Hey guys, this is Mark. Welcome to Flow Runner Training. In this series, we review sample flows included into the Flow Runner training workspace. And this video will be about a flow that is called Welcome Email Flow. The story behind that automation goes like this. So let's imagine that in an organization, someone is responsible for setting up user accounts, and they open up a form and fill out user information, their name, email, phone number, whatever. And then part of the form is specifying the role for that user. And then when that user is created, depending on the role, certain activities need to happen from the automation perspective. And in our case, we will have a forum, and in there will be just a drop down where we will select whether that user is admin or not. And then when the user is registered, the automation will wake up, and the actual user registration will be the trigger for that automation to run. And then once the automation runs, it will check what roles the user has. And if the user is admin, then an email welcoming an admin will go out. Otherwise, an email will go out that will welcome just a regular user. What makes this flow interesting is that it's very simple when you look at the flow. And it literally consists of 5 blocks. But at the same time, the things that you will learn from this are going to be very general purpose and reusable across many other automations. You will see how a trigger works for user registration, how to implement a custom action using codeless in this case, but it can be done with code as well. How to create a condition that checks, in our case, it will check if the user is admin or not, but it really demonstrates how to work with JSON values. And of course, there is an email action that sends out an email to the user. So let's dig in, and I'll demonstrate the actual filling out the form, receiving the email, which is going to be very basic. But then the most interesting thing is, of course, dissecting the actual flow. So let's get started. The very first step, of course, as always, is to start the flow. And you can do this right from the flow. Make sure you are in the welcome email flow, or you can launch that flow right from the flow manager screen, which is a screen where you can see all of your flows. Then on the same flow manager screen for the welcome email flow, in the instructions tab, you'll see a link for a page where you can run this flow. Starting and running are 2 different things. Starting is basically saying that this flow now can be launched to perform automations. And when you click on the link to get to the companion web page, you will see a form like this. Okay, register user. And this is that imaginary form. Well, in this case, it is not imaginary. It's very specific that someone who sets up user accounts uses to create an account. So in here, let's just start setting up a user, and I will set up one for myself. And then in the role drop down, there is either none or admin. Again, this is just to get the point across and demonstrate how it works. In the real world, of course, there will be more fields and clearly more roles. So let's say that this user is going to be configured as an admin. Click register, and that the user now is successfully registered. What this also does is sends out an email that goes out to the user, and that email is right here. Notice that the title of that email is Welcome to the Admin Team, and it says thank you for registering as an admin. Okay, so now we know that that user was registered as an admin. If I were to create another user, and let's just say it is Mark non-admin, and then do this and click register. So another user is registered, and now I should have another email that will welcome me as just to the team, but not an admin. And that email is right here. So it says, thank you for signing up. Welcome to FlowRunner. As you can see, these two emails are very different. And that is by design because we want to have one email for the admin, one email that is regular. So now that you have seen how this flow runs, let's take a look and see how it is implemented. And for this, returning back to the flow, let's stop it. And let's start going block by block. The very first thing that you will see, that the very first block that we have here is called user registered. And this is, we did not change the label here. In fact, in the list of triggers, you'll see this user registered trigger. And this is the one, okay? And this block, this trigger, is activated anytime when a new user is registered in your workspace, in your application, the same application where this flow is running. As soon as this is done, then information about this user is going to be referenced as user registered data. This is the event trigger. This is the data that triggered the event. And then user registered data is then going to be used in this block. But this block is something that you have not seen anywhere. In fact, it is not going to be in a list of these ones. It actually shows up in a list of custom actions. If you navigate to the very bottom of custom actions, you'll see this users category group, and it says get user roles. So what this guy is actually a custom action. And in FlowRunner, anytime you create an API service, it becomes a custom action that you can use in your flow. Okay. Also notice that this custom action, this block, has a parameter that is called user ID. And then what we're doing is we're taking the data that is returned by user registered and obtaining from that data a property that is called object ID right here. Okay. And you can, in fact, you can see all the properties that are available, and then we select object ID. Why we do this? The answer for this is coming up right now. So to see what's going on, we will need to go to our API services that are built in this workspace. And then if you don't have this API services icon, click Quick Access and locate API services under Cloud Code. If you want this icon to be there, just select the star and then it will be available as a shortcut. So, but if not, just click on API services, and what you will see is screen like this. Right here on the left-hand side is a list of all the deployed API services. And at the very bottom, there is going to be a service called users, in fact, with a method that is called get user roles. Notice that this method has this user ID parameter, and this is the parameter that is recognized by FlowRunner. In fact, you see this user ID, that's the parameter that we're populating. If you want to see how this service is implemented, click Logic. And this is the codeless logic of this get user roles. So notice that it knows that there is an argument called user ID. And this method argument goes into the system block. So there is a block that is provided by the system that is called get user roles. So in there, we're passing this user ID, which is really object ID of the user that was created. Now, this sounds complicated. Don't worry, it actually is very simple. So let me just recap. User is registered, and then information about that user moves on to the next block. This user registered data, which is an element that represents registered user, has a property object ID. That object ID is then sent to custom API service, to custom action. And in there, in the implementation, we use a built-in block to get the roles for the user identified with this value. And something is returned. Now, what's returned is actually quite important, especially in the light of the next step. So let me just give you a rundown of what we're going to be seeing as a result of this get user roles. And for this, click Quick Access and select Database. Okay, right here, this guy. And if you want to put a star, then you will have database right here in the shortcuts. So in the database, select this users table at the very bottom. I'm not sure if you can see, here's my cursor. At the very bottom, there's users table. And then these are the users that have already been registered. This guy was the first one that I registered. This one was the second that I registered. So Mark at backendless.com is an admin. And then what you can do is if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you will see that there is this column object ID. Okay, this is the object ID that we were obtaining in our flow. Okay, so in fact, right here, this object ID is going to be this value that we're sending to our API service. So copy, just select the cell right here, Command C or Control C to copy this value, and then go to API services. And then in the API services, select parameters, and then paste that object ID, and then click invoke. So what you see right here, this structure, this is JSON, and this is a JSON array that lists all the roles that this specified that the user with this object ID has. And as you can see, one of the roles is admin. And if you're not familiar with JSON, then square brackets, they indicate that this is a collection. Curly brackets indicate that this is an object. An object consists of key value pairs. So this is a key system and the value is true. Name is a key and value is admin. Okay, so that it goes like this. So this is the value that will be sent back to Flow Runner. In fact, copy this again, go to Flow Runner, turn on test mode, select get user roles, and in here where it says test data, click this icon, get rid of this guy, double click text input, double click it, and then paste that value again. Okay, click apply. So now we can test this get user roles with that specific object ID. Click this icon and notice that this is what was returned by this API service. This is the data that goes into the next block. And now let's turn off test mode. So the next block is called isAdmin. This is the block where we determine if the user is admin or not. How can we determine? Well, let's run it again. We can determine by sheer presence of this guy right here. So if we have an object in this collection where name is admin, then we know that the registered user is admin because this will always be there. This represents a role that is called admin. Okay, so let's see how this isAdmin condition, it is a condition. Let's see how it works. Value to check, registered user roles. What is registered user roles? It is the result returned by this custom action, registered user roles. So this is going to go in. And we specify that what goes in is actually JSON array. We're letting condition know, handle this guy as a JSON array. Then we select an operation. There's a bunch of operations here. The operation that we check is some elements meet condition. In fact, we care only about one. But here, this operation is called some elements meet condition. So what is the condition? Well, the condition is that handle elements as JSON objects and make sure that there is at least one where there is a key with value. Key is name, admin is value. Okay. So to illustrate all of this kind of graphically, let's take a look at the structure and understand where there is a JSON array, where there is a JSON object, and where there is this guy. So here, this is the structure that is being returned by get user roles. Okay, the whole thing is JSON array. So we're basically saying, condition, I am sending you this thing, treat it as JSON array. So this at the top is JSON array. The operation is that some elements meet condition, okay? And then every element is going to be JSON object. So this is JSON object. And then for all of these, just go over all of them and see if there is name and admin in there. Key, name, value, admin. Just make sure that there is one. If you find one, then the condition is going to be true. If you don't find one, the condition is going to be false. So in this case, if isAdmin this yes branch, it means it found a JSON object where the key and value are admin, and then this will be executed. If the condition is false, it means it did not find this guy, then this is going to be executed. And then these are going to be fairly straightforward. This is a send message. It comes from this Gmail extension. Okay. If you don't have this Gmail extension in your app, click Marketplace icon, find Gmail, and just click. There's going to be an install button. Okay. So what we have here is that send welcome to admin. Whenever you get a training workspace, you will need to log in, authenticate yourself. You may see a warning that Google says that this integration hasn't been approved yet. We're working with Google to get that integration approved, but nevertheless, it will still let you log in. So log in and select your connection. And then the rest of it is going to be just all the standard stuff. We're sending that email to the user. So user registry data, that's the result of user registry. Okay. And from there is a property that is called email. That's the one that we use. And then welcome to the admin team is the subject. And then this is the contents of the actual email. Okay. And then if the user is not admin, then the email looks a little different, as you saw earlier in this video. Okay. This is it. So as I said, the flow is very simple, but there are so many things that it demonstrates that it becomes a very valuable from the training perspective. And I do hope that you found this useful, that you can start applying this knowledge when you build your own flows. If you have any feedback, please let us know. Comment on the video, contact us through the support forum, and we'll definitely be happy to assist you. But until then, thank you for watching this video. And as always, happy automating.